Hey, Brad Clark here from Rigging Dojo. There was a great Twitter conversation the other night covering some animation tips and tricks, and some discussion came out of watching the Tricks of the Trade video from GDC. So I wanted to share a couple of them and kind of consolidate what people were sharing on Twitter into this quick video. So I'm going to use Motionbuilder. It works in Maya almost exactly the same. I'll point out a couple of tricks real quick. So one of them, you know, using layers is obviously throughout here. One of the tricks was, let's see, Billy Harper cleaning up data.
Thing for cleaning up data.
So let's look over here real quick.
And all that I'm doing is I'm taking the animation that had a hitch in it and going through and attaching a curve.
So he's building a motion path by hand and then cleaning up the motion path. So that's one of the tricks. There's some other really nice ones in here. And then also something simple like managing the frame length on the timeline. So this works in Maya and also Motionbuilder, but I wanted to demo Motionbuilder because more people should know about it. So we're using the Zombie Pro mocap pack from Mocap Online. They've got some really fun zombie moves. So here, got this motion capture animation, and so the first thing is, let's take a look at that trick we just looked at. So the cool thing, and this will be our first trick, is using motion paths in Motionbuilder. So just a quick, for those who don't know, if we look at what the motion capture is doing inside of here, we're going to see that the rig has got the FK and IK control markers on it, and go back to object mode here. So if I move this arm around, it's not reaching anything yet. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just set up a motion path, and there's a couple ways to do it. The easiest way is to go to either animation up here or the animation drop down menu and say create animation path from selected object, and it will create the path and create a constraint for it. So even though it's on a motion path, you can see it's still moving around, right? And what we want to do is go to the constraint real quick and lock it, and that will keep us from moving it off the path. The next thing we need to do then is go ahead and go through and set a keyframe here. And as we keyframe this controller, it will automatically build a motion path for us. So if his hand's in the air, I can go ahead and keyframe the area that I want to clean up. And I don't have to do this for the entire animation, just the area I want to clean up. Okay, so now I've got this area where it's on the path, and you can see that it doesn't really look like it's doing much right now. But that's because the controller isn't being told to stay on that path. So here we bring up IK blend, and now we have a motion path that the wrist is going to stay on. And if I move the object, if I just want to retarget this move, I can move the path around, of course, and now it's going to stay on the path for the length of time it is, and it's going to stay pinned there. But now we can go through and do stuff like edit the path points, go into vertex mode, and we can go ahead and adjust the curve of the path a little bit, make it a smaller range, where we can smooth it out, do all kinds of fun stuff with it to edit the path. So now here his hand is going to come up and be a little smoother and drop down. The reason we don't have to work on the path for the entire time, that's simple. We can just animate the weight of the constraint. So we want it on the path from the beginning, come forward. Now we want it off the path. I'm just going to keyframe this, come out a little bit and do 0, and hit keyframe. So now it's back to the regular animation for the entire rest of the motion capture data, and we've used the path to clean up one section. Not full editable motion trails, but this is a pretty cool trick, and I wanted to compare it back to the GDC talk. The other animation trick that people kind of lost their mind about, Tim shared on Twitter, was they didn't know that you could double-click the time range and have it shrink back to your remembered section. So example of how you might use this, of course, is you're looking at a loop sequence and you're trying to edit it. So let's say right here and here. This is the section of time we want to use. I'm working on, and I'm looping it. And all that's great. I want to jump back out to the entire animation range. Now I can double click it and pop back to my section. And it remembers this wherever you put it. So again, this is really handy, especially in Motionbuilder when you're trying to work on a specific set of keyframes and you may be working on cleaning up an area. So you can double click to go back, and then you've got your frame range. So that's the second trick, motion path, double clicking time range, and Maya works the same way. The next section was Simon Unger was talking about retiming animation curves. So there's a tool that kind of gets overlooked, and it's this little retime tool. So I can double click anywhere in here, and it creates a kind of a lattice to stretch, not a lattice, but like a simpler time warp to move and compress keyframes and change timing. And you can also do things like right click on it and lock, so you don't change the timing within that range. You can kind of compress and speed up and slow down areas that are within that range. While this is really cool, the difficult part becomes your keyframes end up not on a frame. So once you turn off the tool, all your keyframes are there, but now we see that there's like a value of a keyframe that's got an asterisk by it. So this means that it's not on a whole frame. You don't necessarily want to have to rebake all of this. So the solution for Motionbuilder is to simply go to Filters and go to Keys on Frame and make sure that your frame rate is set to the same as your timeline and hit Accept. Now, if you go back in and look at your keyframes, they'll all be on whole frames. Right, so I can go back, Keys on Frame, and preview and accept. I don't think I have to select anything. Maybe I have to select it. Yeah, there we go. Because it works on selected frames. So we can use that filter to push them back onto whole frames. So now my keys are on whole numbers again after using the retime tool. So that's really handy just to make sure you're not on subframes. And then you can go back and reuse it and then run the filter. Maya has the same functionality. It's snap to time, and it's in the graph editor as well, so you can check that out. All right, those are a couple of the main animation tips. I hope that helps you guys out with some cleaning up of stuff, playing with the motion path tool, and using the retime tool. And then, of course, being able to scale and change your frame range and remember it to get back to it, which makes picking a loop really handy. You know, again, one more example. If you're trying to find a looping action, you want to find the start and end. You can adjust your time range here, and then simply jump back and forth between the full move and the entire animation. So anyway, a couple quick tips. Hope that helps you guys out, and feel free to find us for more tips and tricks, take some training, and we hope you enjoy.